All right, guys. So we are back. You've missed nothing. Hopefully, hopefully the pictures managed to stabilise just a little bit and get you a better visual representation of what's going on, rather than just listening to our description. So hopefully we're able to get something a little bit better out of it. Everything always works fine during practice, and then the moment we try to get anything done and stream something live, all those little technical gremlins come out, unfortunately. So either way, we are still under caution. We've got Jason Martin leading the way from Jackson Callow and Jacob Knight. Tristan Yellen sat in there in 4th place, and Stephen Williams rounding out your top 5.
Yeah, I don't think those guys pitted. They've been out there for about 20 laps now, but a lot of it's been run under yellow, so they probably haven't used too much fuel. And I think you can get, like, I know the trucks the other night people were almost aiming for 55 laps, and I think they got there in the end. So these things, I don't think they've got a smaller gas tank than the truck, so they can probably do that amount too.
Yeah, you'd think that probably being a bit more aerodynamic than the trucks as well might even come into play, and they might have a little bit lower fuel consumption than those big boxy pickup trucks that they race in the ANZCAR Truck Series. But it remains to be seen. I know for a fact that Jason will have worked out all his fuel and everything before the start of the race. We haven't seen him down pit road yet, I don't believe. So still remains to be seen when he's going to come down. We're only working lap 20 of 80 at the moment. So there's still a little bit of strategy to play out here for certain.
Yeah, there is. And it looks like the safety car lights have just gone out here. So we're just about to line up for a restart and get this thing back underway.
That's right. So they're going to line up 2 by 2 by 2 once again, and we might just have a look a little bit further back at some of the drivers we're speaking about at the start of the race. So Josh Mickelmore, a pole sitter, down there in 13th at the moment. If you're following his progress, he's got a mountain to climb to try and round off a perfect Daytona speed weeks for him. We've got Braden Bullis down there in 17th position at the moment. Matt Danson right there behind him in 18th. Guarantee that those two guys are going to be working together, even though they're no longer teammates technically. But I guarantee you their experience together, they're going to be working as hard as they can to get to the front. Two other teammates that are fairly close together. We've got Dave Douglas and Matt Hunter. Matt Hunter's run the 48 tonight. Dave Douglas in the 10. They're in 22 and 23 positions each. And they will be looking to work together to try and get their way up the field as well. And then looking a little bit further down, Jake Maloney looks as though he was caught up in that last wreck. He's 3 laps down now and sitting back there in 32nd position and probably out of the running, unfortunately. Also, Steve Hoppett, who we mentioned at the top of the show in that 131 web radio, number 131 as well, 7 laps off the pace in position 36. So mixed fortunes certainly up and down this big field.
Yeah, if these guys can just settle down now, I think you're going to find 2 distinct packs. Because the top 13 up to about Mickelmore, they all seem to be quite clean. I guess the cars are clean. There's a bit of a dent in the 9 and the 24. We're just about to go green here. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Callow's ducked to the ins. I'm not too sure what Callow's doing.
Yeah, that's quite bizarre, isn't it? I'm not really sure why he's done that. He's definitely broken really what looks like the starting procedure there, so we may even find that gets referred to the stewards, not sure, because there's a definite starting procedure there that's actually there to be followed. So watch the space on that. But either way, we've got Jason Martin, Jackson Callow running out there together, Jacob Knight running in the 3rd position, Tristan Yellen hanging on to 4th, and he's got Stephen Williams on his outside backstretch.
Sorry about that, Norman just got taken out there, but I think it still stayed green, it has.
Yeah, we'll have to go back and look at that a bit later on, unfortunately. Looks as though the stream still isn't really playing ball with us either, unfortunately, but Jason Martin's still leading, and just going back to have a quick look at what's going on with Norman Clark. Yeah, Norman, and it looks as though the number 38 of Leo Smith down there on the apron as well, so I'd say he was involved in that.
Yeah, I'm not too sure of the number. It looked like a black car to me. Sort of wanted to come down in front of Norman, sort of got hesitant and then steered right to get away again and sort of ended up in the outside wall and then came back down on top of Norman. But obviously that still went pretty green. I've just been looking up the front there. We've had actually quite a bit of contact between the front 4. Actually been banging into each other. Now Jackson Callow just getting shafted now. No one really wants to work with him. I think Jaeger's going to pull up to the back of him and try and get that line going again.
Yeah, absolutely has, and that's allowed Tristan Yelland up there into third place. He's going to be absolutely wrapped with that. These four drivers actually in that line at the front have not got any damage on their cars whatsoever. Callo's still trying to hang in there, protect his damaged front end from the draft in there behind Stephen Williams. And of course, Stephen Williams is really going to want to try and work with Wilton when he can, and Wilton's just inside.
Yeah, they probably want to try and get together. I don't know if Wilton's going to maybe pull up behind Callow here and just try and get that line going, but it doesn't look like he wants to. And Tristan Yelland up there, it's going to be huge if he wins this. We'll never hear the end of it.
No, we absolutely never will. But yeah, certainly wasn't our pick for the victory tonight. But he's having a very good run in there as well. And look who's managed to come back up. We've got Ryan Jones there, 5 cars back on the inside. So obviously, any little pieces of damage he picked up in that first incident were not really a big problem for pace. And Raymond Yeager's in there as well, and those two have been together since roughly the start of the race, and they're really starting to form a lead pack now, getting a little bit strung out for the rest of the field.
Yeah, they are. I was just taking a quick look back towards Matt Danson. He's in about that 13th position. Looks like Josh Mickmore, he's falling back a little bit. And there's actually a few distinct sort of packs going out there at the moment. I think a lot of them broke around because of that wreck on the backstretch, but yeah, there's a lot of pack of cars, going around the racetrack.
And Jason Martin's just going to be sitting there. He's of course got Jacob Knight giving him a good push there, right in there. But of course, though, these two guys, as far as I'm aware, certainly not in ANZCAR competition. They haven't spent a lot of time racing one another, so that's going to make Jason a little bit nervous. You're always a little bit nervous when you're racing very close with someone, especially on a super speedway, someone that you haven't raced with before. And certainly not saying that the two guys behind you haven't got the skill or are not perfectly capable of doing the job. But when you haven't run around someone very much, it does make you just a little bit nervous, a little bit wary of them. And I can guarantee you that Jason's going to be watching his mirrors very, very closely indeed.
Yeah, I'm getting pretty nervous just watching the 024 under Jason Martin. He's giving him a good shove. They're actually broken away here. Now the Illusion Motorsport team, they're up on the high side. Looks like Jacob tries to throw a bit of a block, can't do it. And I think these Illusion guys are just going to get on the outside here, and this will actually work quite well for them.
Yeah, big run on the outside with those two Illusion cars, Wilton and Williams. And they're just going, aren't they? Just pushing one another along. And we said that they were going to want to hook up together, and that's exactly what they've done. And they're just running there to the outside. Callow's probably trying to push up onto the back of that duo as well. But it looks as though those two are going to do it all themselves. And Jacob Knight pushing Martin as hard as he possibly can. Yelland in there as well, catching back up now. But that big run that they had on the top, let's see if they can keep that momentum.
Yeah, they're just going past Gavin Sadler. He gets well out of the way. Shouldn't have slowed them down too much. They're going to turn 3. But not a bad run on the outside. They always get that really good run coming off the corner. So interesting to see if you can get it into the tri-oval. They seem to be getting that sort of run now.
And just having a look a bit further back, it looks as though Callow's just hooked up with Jones just to try and get them on the back of that lead pack and sort of keep them in contention. Definitely, you kind of almost get the feeling now coming up to lap 30 that these they're just trying to squeeze up and around that piece of lap traffic to stay there at the bottom. The number 62 there, just going another lap down, and always hard, always a little bit of a scary moment, just trying to get up and around a back marker when you're running too wide like that. And of course, when you're 3 wide, you're almost saying your prayers by that stage.
Yeah, and I will call them junk because their cars look like junk, but there's a few off-pace cars now that they're starting to catch. These really badly damaged cars, they just can't keep up with any pack, so they're just floating around out there, so hopefully they can work themselves around them.
Yeah, there's some of them out there looking like they've just finished a race in Wreckfest. But yeah, it's not Wreckfest, it's iRacing, and these guys with the clean cars are definitely having the best of it at the moment, that's for absolute certain. And these top 4 have broken away. Yelland has just fallen off the back of that lead pack. He's going to need to cut in probably behind Jones there to try and make his way back up to those front 4. Yeah,
they will. I'm not sure if they're intentionally sort of staying back there. I don't know if Callow's car, he might have got a little bit of damage on the front then. I know Brian Jones obviously had some damage. Just nearly gets right at the back of Callow. But yeah, they're just sort of off that bit, aren't they, by a couple of car lengths?
They just seem to be, and of course Callow and Jones are carrying a little bit of damage. Yelland is clean, and quite often it's up to the pushing car to really dictate the pace. So if Yelland is able to get on the back of Callow and give him a really good push, that could really help them come back to that lead pack. But if you have a look now, I think Steve Williams has actually ducked to the inside and really hung his teammate out to dry out there. It looks as though, he's going to be just slicing down, tries to do it. Yelland is forcing the issue down there as well. He doesn't want to give up that spot, but it looks as though, no, they're still side by side. How's this going to turn out? Yelland is right there almost on the apron, and that's a no-go zone. So we'll see if they did give each other space. It looks as though Yelland did end up tucking in behind Aaron Wilson. But no harm, no foul.
No, and you were right, because Tristan's car was actually quite clean. He didn't push the 46 back to this pack, so they've all pretty much got back together, and now the 46 and the 11 try and work the outside. Not sure how that's going to work. They're just slightly damaged. They might all start to cycle around single file here.
Yeah, it won't work. Plain as that. Those two running there. Damaged cars running around the outside are not going to beat a line of 5 clean cars there on the inside. It's just not going to happen. And I think they've realised that, and they've tucked down onto that bottom lane as well, and try and maybe just bide their time for something for the end of the race.
Yeah, but I have to give a shout out to Jacob Knight here. He's stuck around in second. He's doing pretty well. Like, obviously not doing too bad at all. He's stuck up there, Jason Martin. Been a pretty good pusher at the moment. If he can sort of stay around to the end of the race, never know what's going to happen. Yeah,
he's doing an outstanding job, isn't he? I don't know what Jacob's pedigree is. I haven't encountered him before. I haven't seen him race. But he's certainly acquitting himself very well, and for a guy in his first ANZCAR race, he's certainly running very, very well, and being absolutely super professional as well, just in there behind Jason, giving him the push that he needs, and definitely appears to have the judgment that he's going to need to make a good run at the lead come the checker flag.
Yeah, he just gave Jason a good push there.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Jason will be appreciating that too much either, because there's not really too much need to push at the moment, because of course they're not fighting for a position. There's no one on their outside about to overtake them, so it's just really one of those things. I reckon Jason would just be sitting there thinking, you probably don't need to be hitting me there. You can just be sitting off me.
I think that's why, if I was Jason, I would actually try and hug the yellow line down the backstretch, so he can't really sort of go around you. It's like he's right there, isn't he? He's right under him. He's sort of almost, if you get that sort of bump on the wrong end of the car, like on the left side or the right side, it can spin you around.
Yeah, it certainly can, and the two Illusion cars are going to be sitting back there watching this going on. There's a little bit of a gap, but I'm not sure if that's a deliberate gap there, just because those guys in front are getting very, very close, or whether it's something that the push that Knight's giving Martin is actually just helping to make that gap.
I think the 98's going to jump up on the outside. I don't think they got the timing right. If they do it now, would have tried to do it on like a straight or the start of a straight. But yeah, I think they were just trying to get that push up on the outside and see what they can do coming off turn 2 here. I think they're going to have a pretty decent run.
Yeah, and that's opened up a gap for Yelland, hasn't it? To come back down there on the inside, close right back up on the tail of Knight again, and we're back to 2x2 racing. And of course, that has given Callow the opportunity to get back up there, and Jones just hanging on for dear life. It looks as though he's just losing the draft slightly. He'll have that throttle absolutely pinned to try and get back up there.
Easy there, 24 just seems to get a little bit, I don't know if it was loose or just a little bit uncomfortable there. Yelland sort of backed off. He's right at the back of the 21, giving him a good shove through the tri-oval. And this is actually Jones off a little bit. I don't know if he can catch back up to the draft here.
Oh, they're almost going 3 wide there. Knight looking to sort of force his way through in the middle, thinking better off it, but I think you're absolutely right. I think Jones has lost that draft now, and he's going to get picked up by the pack, which is running 13 seconds behind this front pack.
Yeah, and that's the difference between the clean cars and the sort of the damaged cars there. And Ryan Jones, unfortunately, right now is in the middle of that.
Yeah, and that's just one of those things, isn't it? When you fall out of the draft here, it's such a profound effect, and for those who haven't done it, they don't really understand. When you fall out of the draft and you actually lose that draft, it is like somebody suddenly pulling 200-300 horsepower out of your engine. It's just gone. That is the most horrible feeling. You just hear your engine go, and it just doesn't go anymore.
Yeah, and we're going to get pretty sketchy up here. Jason Martin, he's just about to pull that lead pack there onto a 4-car drive. It seems to be all over the place the last time I just looked at them. So hopefully they all work together and stay high. It looks like they're staying in the middle of the track.
That's helpful.
Just squeezed. Oh no, here it goes. Oh, there's a wreck of the 98 sideways. I don't know how he's not wrecking.
Yeah, Yellen's in the back of Williams, isn't he? And he's gone around. So unfortunately, that looks as though it was caused entirely by that pack staying in the middle of the track like that. When you're being laps, they really need to be picking one end or the other. And it looks as though Martin's checked up. Knight's checked up as much as he can. There's definitely some contact there, but he's done his best. And of course, that's called Williams to check up. And then Yellen's got into the back of him and just kept getting in the back of him. And eventually, the number 98 has actually gone around. It doesn't look like there's too much damage on that 98, actually. It's kind of just spun harmlessly into the infield. And Steve Williams, that car looks okay.
Yeah, it does. I think actually the worst damage there was actually Jason Martin. He got banged on the front and banged on the rear. I don't think it'll be too bad once he fixes the damage.
Yeah, we'll definitely see him coming on the road this time, I think, to get that looked at. But yeah, big shame. Yeah, so just checking out the replay, you can see exactly what's happened. Martin sort of had to check up for the lap traffic. Knight's got into the back of him, really know where to go. Williams has checked up, and Yellen's then just got into the back of Williams and just lazily sort of turned him around. So anyway, running to the pit lane now. We've got Jason Martin heading down the pit lane, so we'll see if his old Achilles heel, the pit stop, doesn't strike him again, although it does look as though he's going to need to get some repairs done to that number 21.
Yeah, that just seemed to be a case of I don't think the lap cars knew how quickly the lead pack was actually catching them. I think that was pretty much what that was. Because I know Norman wouldn't have ducked down there in front of the leaders if he knew that they were coming.
No, certainly not. A driver of his pedigree, both in real life and in sim racing, is not going to make those kind of mistakes. So Jason is staying in the pits to repair that damage, and he's just got the field streaming out in front of him at the moment. Jacob Knight's had to repair a bit of damage too, so I believe he's actually lost the lead. And it looks as though it may actually be, in terms of the drivers which were sort of in that lead pack, it looks like Callo's come out best of all of them. And of course, he's carrying all that damage on the front end.
Yeah, Jason didn't stay too long. He's out of the pits now, or coming out of the pits. Yeah, that was a pretty good run. So Steve, if they didn't get too much damage, hopefully we can get another good run like that. The front pack there was actually quite interesting. I'm not sure what was happening back further on in the field, but that was a good, at least 15 laps, I think it was.
And how long was it until our first caution flag in the Daytona 500? Was it 90 laps, 130 laps, or something like that? Yeah, 90 odd laps anyway, before we actually got our first caution. There were a couple of green flag pit stops in there before we actually got to make one under yellow. So a little bit of a different story tonight, unfortunately. A little bit, quite a few more drivers on track as well, it's worth saying. And we've had a couple of wrecks here and mixed up the field a little bit. And once the drivers actually cross the line, we are going to be able to get a better idea of who's where. Fairly sure that Callo is leading the race. I think the two cars ahead of him are a lap down. So yeah, Callo first, Wilton second, Jacob Knight sitting in there in third position, and Joseph Tavora, we haven't spoke too much about him. His first race in ANZCAR was actually Monday night in the Truck Series, and he's up there in fourth position now himself. So latest recruit of the Illusion team, and he's going to be right up there to help his teammates now as well. And crucially, he looks as though his car's absolutely damage free.
Yeah, it does look like that. The 26 does look pretty clean. I'll just go back to that. I think there was only 3 cautions in this year's Daytona 500, and there was 3 cautions last year in the 2018 race. And I did go back and have a look at the times, and yeah, both times were so very close of the race. It was actually 2 hours, 43 minutes, and there was just a couple of seconds in there that were different. So yeah, pretty good there. Pretty consistent.
Pretty consistent indeed. So Okay, so we just got word that we're just going to turn off the visuals for a second again while we're under caution, just trying to resolve some of this choppiness that we're having. So we are still going to have audio, so we'll just continue to talk through it while we just try and resolve these little issues that we are having, these little teething problems that we're going through at the start of the season. And as mentioned, we've got Callow out front leading the pack around at the moment. And I believe that now at least... Remember, we had that big gap. We had that big 13-second gap between the packs. Now everyone's closed back up again. So there's going to be a few drivers in there who've got clean cars, who may have just sort of fallen off the back of that lead pack because they were picking their way through damage stuff, that have now got the opportunity to really make their presence felt at the front of the field. I think Joseph Tavora is going to be one of those. Who's now got the opportunity to challenge at the front. And also it'll be interesting to see how the damage that Yellen picked up actually affects his pace, as well as the same thing with Jacob Knight, obviously getting to the back of Jason Martin. So his car's not going to be aerodynamically perfect anymore either.
No, it's not. I haven't looked at Steve Williams' car. It looks actually pretty decent at the moment. So if he can get on to his teammates, Aaron Wilton and Tavora, should have a three-car team there, sort of doing pretty well. I think Jason Martin's biggest problem now, starting in 16th, is he'll probably lose that top pack if they race away from the damaged cars. So he's going to be hoping for another caution flag. But we're only halfway through this race. I think we'll get another one.
Okay, so given the fact that it's looking very unlikely, I don't like to write anyone off, but it looks very unlikely that Josh Mickelmore is going to be able to come from where he is with a damaged car to actually win this one and close out the speed weeks with a perfect result. Who's your next pick? Go on, roll the dice. Who's going to win this race?
No idea. At the moment, I'm thinking one of the Illusion guys, but I couldn't tell you who. Yellen. Well, I want Yellen to win. I want Tristan to win. That's my pick.
Okay, so you're going to go for Tristan Yelland. All right, so I'm going to just scroll down through this field. I'm going to be ultra adventurous. Going to roll back, and Matt Danson there in 18th position. He's sitting there. He's looking relatively clean at the moment and always seems to come good at the end of races. Very good with the sort of timing of the run. Car looks nice and clean. Just for something a little bit left field, given where he's running at the moment, I'm going to say Matt Danson. Probably both going to be wrong, but hey, what's life without it? Yeah.
It's true. I think Tristan Yellen's almost 3 wide. They've just restarted the 46 out in the lead. I don't think that's going to last. He's got a fair bit of damage. I think at the 26, he's going to jump on the outside with his teammate here and get a good push down the backstretch. They all drop in behind the 024, who if he pulls out now, he's going to end up with the lead because 46 is carrying way too much damage to be out front.
Yeah, certainly is. I think those Illusion cars are going to hook up very, very quickly and go to make a move. And the 024, Jacob Knight, he's going to do well to be watching his mirrors, watch when that move comes, because he wants to be on the front of that train. His car's carrying a bit of damage, but really nothing that significant in the grand scheme of things. And we've got him fanning out behind sort of 2 wide. Looks as though Yellen's taking that top line all to himself at the moment, that ultra top line. Surprised that we haven't seen anybody pull out and try to overtake Callow yet. Perhaps that, I guess the visual looking at the damage that he's got is a little bit deceiving, but I expect that at the very least the Illusion guys...
Tristan's gone round. Tristan Yellen, he's gone round. Unfortunately, I think he's just Mickelmore T-boned him.
What has happened there? You've Murray Walkered him, Dan. You've absolutely dead set Murray Walkered the guy.
Commentator's curse. It looks like the 27's on the inside of him. He goes, what does he do? Yeah, the 27 gets in the back of him. I'm not sure if he had to check up from the 11. But that ends Mickelmore's chances and Tristan's chances. But Ben Doherty, my top 5 pick, he's up there in the top 5 here. I'm pretty sure he's restarted 8th or something, but he might be in the top 5 now.
Yeah, I think Tristo, actually just looking at that replay, it looks as though Tristan may have actually thought that he was clear, and he's just gone to pull down across the nose of the 27 and wound up getting turned around. So massive shame for him. And of course, Josh Mickelmore nowhere to go, cannons into the side of the 23, and that's going to be both of them. And Yellen just trying to get that car back to the pits now, and that thing is crabbing like a crab. I don't even know how else to describe it. It's definitely got more angle than a sprint car on.
Yeah, it definitely does. I know that feeling. You're sort of turning at 9 o'clock to go straight. 9 o'clock on the wheel. But it looks like Doherty might be second, might be 60. He's almost in the top
P6 he is. P6. So yeah, just keep a bit of an eye on where he's sitting. That prediction could be coming true. He looks like he's got a very clean car then. Ben Doherty started down in 36th position, gained 30 spots, up there in 6th position at the moment. So we'll see if he can gain one more and make a fortune teller out of Danny G.
Let's hope he does. I was just having a look at the race chat. It looked like Jacob Knight in second. He wasn't too happy with that, and he does have a little bit of rear end damage. So I think someone's actually gotten into the back of him that he's not happy about. So we might see him come down pit lane here to repair that, but no, he seems to be staying out on track. I don't think that's going to hurt him anyway.
No, I don't think it's going to be too bad for him. I'm just sort of going back to see if I can get a bit of an idea of how that actually happened, because he wasn't really involved in that incident as it was. And I'm not sure if that might have happened in that first incident. We may not have just noticed it, because even rewinding quite a long way, he still got that bit of damage there. So I don't think it was caused in that most recent incident.
It might not then. I guess the bad thing for Illusion Motorsports here is they're going to be starting side by side. But yeah, if they can get together, they should be able to pass Jackson Callow in the 46 in the lead. I'm surprised he actually kept that lead, because no one really wanted to go around him.
Yeah, and let's not forget as well, we've not only got the 25 and the 26 in there, then we've got, if we go back, we've got Ryan Jones there, then we've got Doughty, and then we've got the other two. We've got Williams and Skurlock. We haven't really talked too much about Skurlock tonight. He's kind of been buried down in the pack a little way, but he's there. He's there. He's carrying a little bit of damage, but not too much. And he might be in a good position to be able to work. And if they can get a 4-car train going, if they can get together and get a 4-car train going that is going to run really well together, they're going to stick together, those guys are going to be dangerous coming into this one for absolute certain.
Yeah, and that's why I was talking at the start of the race. I think it was the start of the race there about teammates. It makes such a massive difference at these tracks. When I originally first started, I didn't think it would, but it really does. You always see the teammates always stick together, and it's hard to get around them. And they've got strategies to stop other teams and whatnot. And yeah, but there's a couple of single guys up here like Jackson and the 024 of Jacob Knight, and even Ben Doherty. I'm not sure if he's got any teammates out there. Doesn't look like it.
No, I don't believe. I think Doughty just runs on his own. I don't believe he's actually been snapped up by a team as yet. So I think he's running alone. So he's going to have to be working out there to try and get some alliances happening with some other guys, and try and make a few deals with a few other competitors to see if they are able to get something running together. Because you're not going to win this race without help, that's for sure. And it can certainly be a mutually beneficial thing. For drivers to be able to make deals between them and pull themselves up. Only one driver's going to win, but you could definitely make a lot of positions like that as well.
Yeah, you can. Another driver we haven't spoken of tonight, Dave Douglas, he's in 11th. I'm just having a look to see if he's got any damage. He looks quite clean out there.
Yeah, that's not too bad for Dave, because normally if there's an accident that happens anywhere, he manages to get tagged in it. So he's going to be quite happy to see that he's not carrying any damage on that Mustang at the moment, and seems to be running quite comfortably there in the 11th position after starting this race in 35th. And he's running there just ahead of Gareth Anderson in the 111, who's carrying a fair amount of damage on the front. So I don't think Dave's going to be getting challenged from behind, certainly not from the damaged car of Anderson.
No, so it looks like pretty much, we know Ryan Jones can keep with the top pack, but I'm not sure how he dropped out of that lead draft there, if he got off the gas at one stage and they sort of just drove away from him. But Jason Martin just crossed the line in 10th, and Dave looks pretty good. So I think from 11th on forward, so first to 11th, they actually look pretty good. So if these guys can form a pack, they might be able to break away.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to see the field split up into at least 2, if not 3 packs, where everyone's sort of grouped by the level of damage that they have. And it's really the job of anybody who's got a clean bodywork on their car to be able to, as we actually see, is that Douglas coming down the pit lane? No, he's coming back up. Those guys, really their job is to make sure that they're not getting caught back with these damaged drivers, and they're getting up to that front pack, because the front pack is where they have to be. They're going to have the pace to do things and pass people and so on if they manage to get there, but it's a case of actually doing it and getting there. So there's a lot of fast guys starting behind a lot of guys who are going to be theoretically slower because of that damage. So there may, if impatience gets the better of them, there may be another caution to come.
Yeah, there could be. And have a look at Illusion Motorsports. They're lining up side by side, and then there's a row that aren't Illusion, and then another Illusion pack side by side. So it'll be interesting to see what they try and do if they get onto the outside. But I think if you're a team, you know Jackson's going to hold the inside. He's got a fair amount of damage. Wouldn't be surprised if the 25. I think if Wilton just tries to get around him pretty quickly. But I think as a team, like the outside works better when you've got more cars.
Yeah, you've got to have a lot of cars in that row to make it work, but I think, to be perfectly honest, Jacob Knight's got to really hammer it as soon as the green flag comes out, and who's that back there, the 26 Tavora? He's got to get right on the back end of Jacob Knight and push them around Callow. If they can do that off the start, I think they'll be able to do it very successfully and take the lead. If not, it's going to be a case very similar to what we saw before, with Callow kind of hanging on by his fingernails at the front of the pack.
Yeah, it will be, and they're just heading off turn 4 now, so we'll see the pace car drop off and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. So pace car just about to duck in. I'd expect Callow to kind of wait until the green flag rather than trying to accelerate early. Just watching him now, looks as though he has put the foot down and he has got himself a little bit of a gap, and as we saw earlier on with Knight, that's not necessarily the best thing to do, and Tavora has slotted right in there behind his teammate Wilton.
Sorry, the O2.
And that's gone wrong.
It has, yeah.
That's gone really badly wrong, and it looks as though Jacob Knight caught up in that as well, unfortunately. Just going back to try and actually dissect what happened, but seems to be definitely a lack of patience going on out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Jacob Knight, he's in the outside row and he just tried to squeeze in the middle of the 25 and the 26, and there was no room, and he just hooked the 25 and around he went. Ben Doherty, my man, to the top 5. He's got damage. The 9 was in it. I don't think he got too much damage, but he's in it.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Knight's tried to get down in between the two Illusion cars, and that has done them no favours at all. He had overlap and wasn't able to get that done. So that was the cause of that one, and unfortunately it has accounted for some very, very competitive runners in this race. And just while we have a look at that, it looks as though Ray Lawless is driving around with a completely clean bodywork as well, so that's got to be dangerous.
Yeah, it will be. I was actually having a look at him. I saw him in the chat, and I was having a look at him on the track. I just couldn't see his name. But he's obviously out there, like you say. You've seen him. Oh, yeah, there he is, in 26th position, with obviously teammate Matt Danson. I'm not sure teammate, but they do work together quite well, and Danson's still quite clean too. Yeah,
those two will be sitting there together, just wanting to pick their moment before they make the big run for the lead. I've seen them do it before, and would not be surprised at all to see them do that again. Just having a look, just behind Braden Willis now, we've got Aaron Wilson, who was just up there gunning for the lead, and is now back in 25th position, carrying all sorts of damage. So very unfortunate for him. Really, no fault of his own. It's just the way it's turned out for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, you got to give a good shout out to Jacob Knight. I actually don't think he's got too much damage though. He's got a little bit on the rear, like we said, and the front of his car, a bit scuffed up. Yeah, that's probably going to be a fair amount of damage to try and fix. But he had a great run all night. It's well over halfway, and it's just unfortunate he just tried to squeeze that gap and it didn't work, and that's probably a good lesson learnt for him.
But they say what goes around comes around, and speaking of that, the man who started outside row 1 is going to be taking this restart from outside row 1, Ryan Jones. He's back up there in 2nd position after all of that.
He is. You got Michael Skurlock. We know he was involved in something because he was on pit road with a lengthy pit stop. He's back up there in 3rd. Stephen Williams, they're still going to start on the outside of each other though for the Team Illusion.
And we got Jason Martin there as well, sitting there in 5th position. Now, we mentioned earlier on that he was carrying damage. All of a sudden, with all the cars around him, the way that they're kind of looking at the moment, his isn't looking that bad. I mean, it's got damage, but certainly nothing compared to some of the cars around him.
Yeah, just a little bit of a crinkle on the nose that I think I saw before. But yeah, he doesn't look too bad.
Okay, so they're all just rolling around now. It looks as though anyone who hasn't got damage isn't going to pit from here. There's only 30 laps to go, and I think they should be able to do that on the tank. So I don't think that we'll be looking at, barring catastrophe, I don't think we're going to be looking at any more pit stops today. It's just going to be a straight run to the flag. It's going to be about what you've got, what kind of car you've got to fight with at the end.
It seems to have been a while because we've been under caution, I think, about 3 times since we've discussed Jackson Callo's front end damage. And unless it's all cosmetic, I don't think he actually knows how bad that actually could be. Sort of out front there, he's probably thinking mustn't have been too bad. We'll have to see as this if we get any long runs.
Well, yeah, I'm just taking a look from inside his onboard at the moment, and I don't think there's going to be a lot that he's going to be able to see from there, see from the driver's position, depending on exactly where he's got everything set up. Just sort of down towards the end of his hood, you can see that there's a little ripple there, but it certainly doesn't look that bad from on board. It certainly isn't performing that bad either. We keep saying he's going to lose the lead, and he hasn't. So that car can't be that bad.
No, you're right. I'm just looking on board now, and yeah, from his cockpit view, you'd think there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. So he's got 100% confidence at the moment. We'll just have to see how that ends up.
Yeah, absolutely. So 30 laps to go, just on 30 laps to go now. And hopefully we're getting to the stage where people are going to start being a little bit more patient, because I think that the last couple of wrecks that we've seen have been from over-aggression. And we did talk at the top of the program about what that actually means, the mental approach that's required to do well on a super speedway. And the guys who've got it are going to be the ones who are towards the front at the end of this race, and the guys who haven't, the guys who are having the rushes of blood to the head, and unfortunately the guys who are around them when they do that, are the ones who are sitting in pit lane and towards the back with crumpled up cars. So very much a mental game this, and it's going to remain a mental game until the end of the race now, with those additional factors factored in of the varying damage levels of the cars.
I think you'd have to suggest probably the top 5 they're regulars to this series, so they're going to be, I think, a little bit happier that they're racing together rather than some of the new guys that have sort of come in, especially Jason Martin, who is getting bumped all the time there. He's sort of up there now. If he can sort of stick up there with some regulars, he might feel a little bit more, I don't know what the word is, but he'll be a little bit happier.
At home, I think, a little bit more at home with the guys that he's sort of racing with week in and week out. As we mentioned, it's always a little bit disconcerting running against people that you haven't necessarily run against before, but I'm sure there are plenty of diamonds out there in that rough, and plenty of guys that we're going to be seeing plenty more of as the season wears on. So Daytona are always a bit hit and miss. You never quite know what you're going to get, especially when you chuck in a few inexperienced guys into the mix. But it's all a learning experience. That's what this series exists for. It exists for people to get the training and the grounding to eventually move up to the ANZCAR Cup. And I'm sure that each and every one of the drivers here are certainly capable of doing that. It's just a matter of hooking it up all together and getting the job done and earning that promotion if that's what they're gunning for.
And in 8th position, you got Norman Clark for racing for MFR, and he wasn't in an incident before the race, but he's managed to stay on the lead lap, and he actually doesn't look too bad. A bit of a crinkle there on the right front, as they sort of line up too wide here to get going. Green flag next lap by, but he doesn't look too bad in 8th position.
No, he absolutely doesn't. Let's not forget that Norman was in the process of getting lapped when one of those cautions came out earlier on. So what a difference a few laps and a couple of yellow flags makes. Alright, so we are away, and it looks as though Callo's taken off ahead, and Skurlock's just managed to slip down in behind the leader with Brian Jones in there in the 4th position. Jason Martin giving Skurlock a good old tap as he tries to push his way through, and now Martin working with Skurlock on the outside to try and depose Callo from that lead that he's held for so long, and Jones proving the saviour down there for Jackson, hooking onto the back of that number 46, and these guys are going to go at it again.
Yeah, and it looks like Skurlock had the opportunity to duck down in front of Jackson and see if they can get out ahead of him. I think he's just staying in that top lane to help the 98 car out, his teammate. We'll see what happens here. Looks like Callo's actually got a pretty decent run there with Jones on the inside. But they've left the other 6th place.
Yeah, they've left that pack behind, haven't they? So it's really these top 5 at the moment running out there in front and just extending that gap to all those guys in the back. And I imagine that that pack is probably being led by a couple of damaged cars. But anyway, so we've got this top 5, and I think almost more than helping Steve Williams, I think Skurlock didn't want to drop down because he didn't want to give Martin the opportunity of leading a line. I think he wanted to really keep him back there and keep him under control and not let him loose, as it were.
Yeah, it looks like now Jason can actually drop down. He can't do it now because Callo's coming on the inside, but they're probably going to get a good run off turn 4. Jason actually might drop down in front of Callo to see what happens. They don't seem to have gotten the best run here.
Yeah, of course, these 5 drivers, very experienced running together. Each one of them has got at least a seasons of experience under their belt, if not a lot more. And these guys are going to be pushing each other hard to the end. And if it stays green, and I say if it stays green, these guys are going to be very, very hard to catch. We did mention Danson and Poulos earlier on. They're still down there in the pack running along with Dave Douglas, but it's going to be very difficult for them to bridge that gap really, really hard, even if they do have perfect cars.
Yeah, and I know I keep harping on the 46 cars damage, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, is there? They're actually holding their own just with a 2-car draft here. So it looks like this Skurlock gets out ahead again, and Martin might try the outside, but you know the 98's probably not going to go with him.
No, the 98 definitely wouldn't go with him, and I think that's why we saw Martin slot back in there. Callo making another run for the lead now as well. As you say, there's nothing wrong with that 46, is there? It looks a bit ugly, but it's still fast.
Yeah, it definitely is. I'm just having a look back at this second pack here, which is led by Matty Raymond. He's sort of out there on his own. They're going to swallow him up pretty quickly, and they're actually pretty dicey here. We've got Bradley Cheney in 7th. He's leading that second pack. He's just about to catch the 83. They're all over the place here. Dwayne Priest going on the outside.
Yeah, they're not looking overly steady, are they, through some of the turns? And it's one of the things that we saw.
They almost wreck.
Yeah, we saw earlier on in the truck race on Monday, didn't we? A case of people not necessarily holding the lines as steady as they may do. And when you're running in that close proximity, it makes it really, really difficult to avoid wrecks. You almost invite them. So they're staying out of trouble so far, but you almost get the feeling watching the way they're sort of jostling that it's only a matter of time.
I think Michael Skurlock might have something's happened at the front here. Jason Martin's now clearly in the lead. I think Skurlock may have dropped down in front of the 46, and it just didn't work out for him. Maybe the 98 pushed Jason Martin to the lead. They've all ducked down now. Top 4 single file in the 5th place. Ryan Jones gets slots in the single file here. Jason Martin out in the lead.
Well, let's not forget that these 2 Illusion cars are exactly where they want to be right now. They want to be dead in line. They can sit there, they can decide when they push Jason and when they abandon him and go streaming past. And it's got to be down to team tactics. And I guarantee you if the team boss, Chris Purnell, is watching these 2 at the moment, he's got to be instructing them definitely on what he wants them to do, when he wants them to make that move. They've definitely both got the experience to sort that out for themselves. But they're going to be sitting there, biding their time, staying together, letting no one in between them, and they're going to be making their move when they decide to, and when they do, it's going to be decisive.
Yeah, I think when you got teammates lined up like this, it probably is better to be lined up 2nd and 3rd. They're just passing a lap car now, which is Ben Doherty. Doesn't look like he's going to get the top 5 for me, but Jackson Keller is not going to give up here. He's trying the outside. He wants Ryan to go with him, but yeah, Ryan Jones in the 11 just won't go with him at the moment.
No, but he's sort of hanging well on the outside there. Hopefully he doesn't try to side draft too aggressively, as we saw earlier on that caused the accident between another couple of drivers. But Callo's making a really good fist of it there on the outside, actually, and he's really threatening, isn't he? Which is much more than I thought he was going to be able to do once he picked up that damage and everything else. And now the Illusion cars have been separated, and they've actually allowed themselves to be split.
Yeah, I thought Jackson might have dropped down there just to split them up even more, but it doesn't look like it. He wants the outside. And Ryan Jones now is going to go with him, but they're just not close enough together to make that work. I think Skurlock's going to close back up unless Jackson can slide in here. But he thinks better of it. He stays on the outside.
I don't think he wants to. I don't think he wants to get back down there and slot in behind anyone. I think he wants to go for the lead.
Yeah, I think he does too. He's going to have to fall back to 5th here, I think, though.
All right, we reckon we've got another caution, and just taking a look to see which cars are involved in that. It looks as though Darren McKenzie involved in that. It looks as though Shields involved in that as well. I'm just trying to see where it originated, and it's originated with Mackenzie, he's tried to go 3 wide. He's tried to go 3 wide in between the 111 and the 24, and has made a mess of it, basically. Got a bit of a wiggle on and has taken out the 111 on his outside, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've got the number 27 as Brett Hender. But yeah, that's exactly what happened.
I do apologise. It is Brett Hender. I'm used to seeing Darren McKenzie running that paint scheme, but they are teammates, of course, same sponsors and everything else. So my apologies to Darren McKenzie, Brett Hender in the 27.
Yeah, and it looks like, I mean, he did shoot the inside there. I think maybe the 111 could have stayed a little bit higher, but the 20, he was definitely wobbling the 27 there in the middle. Probably got some air taken off his car, and he was just a little bit all over the place, soaring on the steering wheel, which happens in the middle 3 wide. Yeah, the 083.
He certainly didn't get he certainly didn't get a lot of space from the 111, but at the same time, the 111 appeared to be, and that is Gareth Anderson, of course, holding its line. You know, he didn't deviate. That's the distance that he was running. That was the line that he was running. And yes, he could have moved out and allowed Hender some extra space, but that was the position he was in when Hender elected to make that move. So, unfortunately, it hasn't worked out for either of them.
Yeah, I think the 27 just lost the air pretty much. You'd see him sort of, if you look on his on body, sort of soaring at the wheel there when he was in the middle 3 wide, which can happen. He obviously got dirty air there. He almost got no air, really. And yeah, he's just all over the place, and unfortunately couldn't hold the line, and that happened.
Yep, unfortunately, one of those things that happens when you race in super speedways, and I guess coming down to the dying laps of the race, there are only 20 laps to go now. Perhaps Brett Hender had decided that it was now go time. He needed to start making positions, and unfortunately, he's taken that car behind the wall, as has Nicholas Shields. Not sure how well Anderson's going to come out of that either. He's still rolling around at the moment. There's no smoke coming out the back of that car, but it's certainly looking worse for wear.
Yeah, I'm just having a look now at the Tackle World entry, number 83 of Matty Raymond, and he's got a very clean-looking car. I'm not sure why he dropped off the lead pack there and sort of faded back in 6th position, but if he can get up there, that car's looking very clean.
It may have even been a case of he was leading some damaged cars and he's pulled away from them and just had no one to draft with, and as a result couldn't keep up with that leading pack.
Yeah, it happens. I think he's got a touch of right rear, but compared to some of the other guys up there that can run up to the top, I don't think it's going to be a problem. And he's got Dwayne Priest behind him in 7th, along with Bradley Cheney, who Bradley Cheney actually looks pretty clean too. So hopefully these guys can form a bit of a bigger pack at the front and have a good crack at it. We've only got 20 laps to go now.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be a lot of drivers in the pack just sort of consolidating at the moment. There'll be a lot of drivers in the pack as well who are really fancying their chances in terms of not winning the race necessarily if you're going around with damaged bodywork, but they'll be thinking to themselves that if there are a couple more wrecks happen and they manage to avoid them, that they're on for a decent result. We've seen a few guys get into trouble and they're still sort of running in decent positions. You know, we saw Callow, Skurlock has had their issues, even Jason Martin's had his issues, and he's leading the race. So I think just about everyone on the track has had their little incidents and issues tonight, but it doesn't mean it's over, and it's good to see a lot of drivers actually sticking in and hanging out and trying to pick up some very valuable championship points. As we all know, the points you get at the start of the season are just as valuable as the ones you get at the end. A lot of people obviously looking to play the long game, which is good to see.
And one of the rookies, Jacob Knight, who was up pretty much in 2nd position all night. He's only back down there in 9th, so he's still got a shot at the top 10, top 5 here. See if he can pull back up to Jason Martin. He seemed to be working well with Jason, so you never know if they can hook up towards the end of the race.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't afraid of really getting on Jason's bumper, was he? You know, he really got in there, and that close drafting is what allowed them to carry the speed that they were carrying. And of course, he gave Jason a couple of good pushes there. And there was, of course, if you remember earlier on, that period where they were running 1-2 and actually managed to gap the cars behind them. Only a little way, only a couple of lengths, but they managed to get that done. So if Knight's able to get back up there with Martin again, it's going to be interesting between the two of them to see what actually happens and how that dynamic plays out.
Well, at the moment with the 98 and Michael Skurlock in the 350, so Stephen Williams and Michael Skurlock, it's going to be interesting to actually see what they do on the start. If Skurlock gives maybe Stephen a bit of room, or Skurlock ducks on to the outside. But them two are definitely going to get together. But I think Jason Martin needs a friend at the moment. He needs someone up there that's going to be willing to push him, and it's not going to be the Illusion cars.
No, it certainly won't be the Illusion cars, and they'll be working together and working for themselves. And it's unfortunate, I suppose, for Jason that his teammate Josh Wickham was down in 20th position, last car on the lead lap at the moment. It doesn't really appear to have too much hope of getting back up there. I mean, if only he had another teammate, but unfortunately his only other teammate sat in the comp box and can't do a thing about it.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, if the rest of the Daytona speed weeks went the way it did, I'd probably be out of this race already. But I think Josh, he's committed to sort of running the season and points, so he's just out there trying to gain as many points as he can.
Exactly right. So they are 2 by 2 now. Pace car is getting ready to duck off. We're almost back underway again as we just come down the back straight. Lights on the pace car out, and now of course Callow sitting up there behind Stephen Williams on the outside, and Jason Martin has got Michael Skurlock for company, who appeared to be having a bit of trouble pushing his teammate earlier on. Remains to be seen if he's going to be able to make a better fist of pushing Jason Martin. I'm not sure how that Camry's actually behaving at the moment.
Yeah, so let's just keep an eye on the 98 and the 350 and just see how they try and line up together. Yeah, I've got a feeling maybe Skurlock will let Williams in, but yeah, I'm not too sure.
Honestly, if I was the 11 or the 83 or even the 777 at the moment, I'd be organising to get those 3 in a line and get on with it, because they can't afford to fall off the back of this pack. So Jason Martin just about to decide when this race is going to get underway. He has done that. He's planted the foot, and Stephen Williams going with him there. But it definitely, if I was one of those cars further towards the back of that top 6 or 10, I'd be trying to line up and make a really good push right around the outside of this front pack.
Yeah, it looked like Skurlock left a little bit of gap. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but he's closed back in on Jason Martin now, and they're just going to have to race and see if they can get together sort of a little bit further on. But the time is running out. There's only 17 laps to go.
Yeah, it's going to be a sprint race from here, isn't it? We've got a top 8 breaking away from the rest of the pack at the moment. It just seems that a lot of the time when a second pack forms, it's actually being led by Cheney. So I think that Cheney might be carrying a fair amount of damage and making it very, very difficult for the guys behind to run with this leading pack. He always seems to be that cork in the bottle, if you like. Not his fault. He can only go as fast as the car will allow him to go with the damage it's got, but it's certainly allowed the top group to get away. And we've got 2 lines forming with Callow and Raymond picking up on the outside, and this could be a very interesting push for the lead between the 2 of those, because Raymond's got a very clean car and he's pushing very, very well.
He is, and Callow pretty much pushed Stephen Williams to the lead, and Stephen Williams dropped down in front of Jason Martin to sit down at the backstretch to take the lead. But look at Callow up there. He's not giving up at all. The 83 right behind him. If they can just get maybe one more car up there.
Yeah, Jacob Knight sat in there just sort of hanging on to the back of that pack. I'm not sure how much performance he's got, but he's certainly making a fist of holding on to the front pack, so great result for him if he's able to pull it off. But these 2 on the outside, they need someone else to go up, maybe like a Ryan Jones or a Priest or someone like that, to pull up onto the outside row and run with them, because if they can get another car up there, they can be a force to be reckoned with. Running together, they're making a good fist of it, just the 2 of them. If they get a third up there, I reckon we might see Callow back to the lead.
Yeah, we could do. I think Ryan just has to jump up there. It's one of those things you don't know what's going to happen when you get up there, and the inside you sort of, if you stick on the inside line and you can get that energy together, you can sort of drive past these guys. It is a gamble going on the top sometimes, but like Dwayne Priest doesn't really want to do it at the moment. Neither does Ryan, and the 024 Jacob Knight is I think he might be starting to lose the draft.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, nothing ventured, nothing gained though. I mean, if you're looking to win this race, sitting in there in the inside row behind the Illusion cars and Martin's not going to get you anything. So if you're sitting there as Ryan Jones or Priest at the moment, you've got to be going for that outside line, because you're not going to get to the stage. Your line has already proved, the inside line has already proven over a number of laps now that it is not going to push past. You're not going to gain those positions on Callow and Raymond out there. They're going to stay where they are. The only opportunity that you've got to move forward is to get out there on that outside line, give them a shove and try and drive around the guys on the inside. And they need to do it, and they need to honestly pull their fingers out and get up there now. That's my opinion. They need to get out there and make a race of it.
Yeah, they do. And it looks like Matty Raymond, the 83, looks like he's a fair bit quicker than the 46 at the moment. He just needs help just to get around him, but he's all over the back of the 46. He's right up underneath him going to the tri-oval. Gives him an awesome push. I think Jackson might have actually led that lap. No, he didn't. I think Stephen Williams still led that lap, but he's Calais just ducked on the inside there in front of Stephen Williams, so he's got the lead.
Yeah, and Calais dogged him now. And you can understand, they're not teammates. You can understand Calais doing that. He's got the opportunity to lead this race right at the death, which is what you want to be doing. You want to be leading the thing as it comes to the end. But poor old Matty Raymond has been left out there on his own as they squeeze past Josh Wickelmore. He needs a friend up there right now. He needs someone to get up there and work with him. Ryan Jones, Dwayne Priest, get up there and work with Raymond, for goodness sake, please.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen, but he's got a clean car, yeah, so someone just needs to work with him. But now the Skurlocks has just sort of fallen off there, and Raymond's stuck back down into fourth. So we'll see what happens here. Yeah. Maybe him and Jason Martin. Are probably the best friends at the moment. Yeah,
he had no option, unfortunately, there, but to duck back down in. Otherwise, he was going to lose space, lose spots to Skurlock and the boys behind as well. So we'll see now. This gives Martin a playmate as well, and we'll see if any of them decide to make that move. It looks as though Williams makes him move to the outside. No one's going with him. He's definitely making that move for the lead. Is Raymond going to pull out and go with him? He should. He's not. They're all staying there, and unfortunately no one's going to run with Steve Williams. Come on, guys. Nothing ventured. Get out there. Take a chance.
Skurlock's got to go up. He does. He finally gets through those two illusion cars on the outside, but Ryan Jones, they've just lost a lot of momentum here.
They have. They've lost a ton of momentum, and they're going to really have to work their way back from here. Just coming through now. There's only 12 laps to go in this one, and they're just sort of running even now. Those two Illusion boys are falling right to the back. They lost a ton of speed trying to get that done, and now it remains to be seen whether Martin and Raymond, potentially Raymond, pulls out of the draft. Looks as though Martin's willing to go with him to the stage, and yellow flag.
Just scanning back to have a look. I thought the 25 car of Aaron Wilton's gone around. Ben Doherty looks to have gotten in the back of him from first glance, just entering turn one and spun him around. So a couple of cars hit them, but nothing too bad. Just a single car incident, really.
Yeah, that's unfortunate given the way in which those guys were running earlier on in the race. I mean, hasn't Aaron Wilton's day gone from bad to worse since he was right up there? He's led laps of this race, let's not forget. And Ben Doherty, who was up there in 6th position, nearly fulfilled your prediction of getting up there in the top 5. Yeah, it's just where some guys are having a good night, it's just going from bad to worse for others, unfortunately. And that's just that's Daytona.
It is. This is going to be an awesome restart. We have then 10 to go, probably within about 7-8 laps to go. Jackson Kelly's going to start in the lead outside Jason Martin. Then Matthew, Raymond, Ryan Jones. None of these guys are teammates. And then Stephen Williams, Dwayne Priest, and I think Williams and Skurlock will actually line up together. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do. But we're pretty much at the front. There's no teammates at the moment, no alliances. So yeah, just get it on.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Because they're not teammates, so they're not going to have a common radio channel to be able to speak to each other in the way that teammates do, where no one else is going to be able to hear what they're saying. So they can't have any private conversations. So you're kind of relying on little subtle hints from each car to sort of second guess whether or not they're going to work with you or whether they're not. It's very tricky and very difficult to do, to sort of read what the attitude of the other drivers are around you. And of course, with no teammates there, they're all going to try and dog you in the end because everybody wants to win the race.
Yeah, that they do. It's going to be coming down to the end here. Yeah, hopefully it goes green just to see a good race. I'm not sure what's going to happen in the back of the pack, but yeah, the front should at least be interesting. I'm now pulling for Matty Raymond.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how they... And of course, it's been so close racing up the front. We haven't really covered too much of the mid-pack tonight, just because every time we look away, something else happens up the front. But we've got a few drivers sort of playing their way in now, and let's not forget that I mentioned Bullis, Danson and Douglas earlier on. They've come from the back end of the top 20 to the back end of the top 10. They're sitting 8th, 9th and 10th at the moment, right behind Michael Skurlock, who's there in 7th place. So Do not count out those three. All three of those cars are absolutely spotless and clean, so they're all performing at their optimum. They've got Raymond Yeager in there behind them as well, who might try to go with them, although he is carrying a lot of damage. But those three guys, the 10, the 30, and the 01, very experienced drivers, all three of them have worked together throughout this race, it appears. They've been glued together throughout the entire thing. Expect them to get together, to get on that high line, the extreme high line, and try to drive around everybody. It is go time now. This is what they're going to try and do.
I think the denominator there might be Dwayne Priest. He didn't seem to have the pace to stick up with these guys. He's carrying a fair bit of damage. If Bullos, Danson, and Douglas can work past him and stick into the draft of the lead pack, then they'll definitely be a factor in this. And yeah, well, they've got no choice now. It's pretty much foot to the floor here. So they've just got to get around. Yeah, I think Priest is the only damaged car, and they can get into this race.
Yeah, if we run green to the end, and there's less than 10 laps to go now, we're probably going to go green with about 8 to go. And if they manage to run those 8 laps to the checkered flag, absolutely green, I can tell you now that those 3 cars we just mentioned are going to be a factor, and I can't wait to see if they can do it or not. I just hope that no more cautions come out, there's no more wrecks, nobody else has to have something bad happen to them, and we can go green to the end of the race to see what these guys are able to do and see if what the plans are as well as those guys at the front in terms of Martin, Raymond, and the Illusion Boys.
Yeah, it's still going to be, what are we on, 72, so we'll probably go green flag lap 74, so 7 laps. So that's a lot of time for these guys to get together.
Certainly is. I can't wait to see it. So we're still single file. So unfortunately, we have got at least one more lap under caution. But once they all start to pair up again, we'll get going, and it's going to be an absolute grandstand finish. So stick with us right to the end, guys, because I can't tell you who's going to win this. I made my prediction. I'm going to stick by it. I'm going to stick by Matt Danson. I've just got to go with that. But it's got to be. It's really anyone's race. This it is anyone's race even still.
Yeah, it is. My dude's out. Ben Doherty's 2 laps down in 22nd. He's still circling around though. He's 1 lap ahead of 23rd place Nigel Petrie, so he's going to be racing around just trying to hold that position. And Ben Doherty, he pretty much competes every week, so he's just out there for points too.
Yeah, he's become a good series regular, Ben Doherty, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
All right, so rolling around right now, just checking in with a few of the guys further back in the pack. Joseph Tavora, who we were talking about earlier on, he's down there in 13th position. So remember that accident he was in? It hasn't really cost him a huge amount. He was right up there in the top 5, but 13th, that's still not bad points there. So he's not going to be, if he comes home 13th, he's not going to be distraught, certainly not. Matt Hunter there, he's got a little bit of a wriggle in the front of that car, but it's looking better than a lot of the cars out there. He's sitting there in 14th, then we've got Cheney and McKenzie and Norman Clark in there as well. So there's a good solid midfield pack in there as well. So they're going 2 by 2 now, which means 1 lap to go. 2 of them will be back under green. And those guys that are sort of sitting there in the mid-pack, it'll be interesting to see if they adopt any kind of tactics to try and make positions before the end, or if they're just happy to see the flag.
Yeah, Tavora's pretty much sitting in a pack of cars that look pretty much identical to him, just on the front damage. So they're also going to be having a crack at this too. They all want to get past each other. Pretty much doesn't matter where you are, you always want to be trying to get in front of someone, and towards the end of the race here, the second pack's obviously definitely going to be racing as well, so there's going to be a lot to watch there.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to know where to look, so we'll probably just keep our eyes on the front pack, because that's going to be where the win is decided for certain. But there are going to be plenty of guys trying to work their way up through, as we did mention. So we're coming down to the green flag now. I expect everyone to be more bunched up than they are, so they're all just sort of closing up now. I think they want to be close together than that, though. There's still a big gap in between the 46 and the 83, for example. 83 really needs to get right there on the back of Callow, so there's not any kind of issues with the picking up the draft or anything like that. And pace car just about to duck away. It does, and we are on for a run to the flag. Here we go. And Callow goes. He's gone. He's actually left Raymond a little bit behind. Don't be surprised to see Martin try to drop down in front of Raymond. He hasn't done that yet. Jason Martin holding that outside line. He's obviously still got designs on winning this race. Nobody out there working with him at the moment, though, unfortunately for him. Callow leading this one away. Raymond right up there behind him. Jostling, snarling Pat coming in behind. Raymond looking to the outside, jumps up there in front of Martin, making a big run around the outside of Callow. No better man pushing him either. Jason Martin there pushing him around the outside, and it looks as though Raymond is going to go to the lead of this one. Is he going to be able to chomp down, or is he going to stay where he is and work with Jason?
I think Ryan Jones gave the 46 a pretty good push down the back stretch, so the 83 is going to stick on the outside. Him and Martin will be able to work together on the outside coming off turn 4 and hopefully get a good run. But the inside lane here, especially those two illusion guys, they're going to get a fair amount of energy. It looks like it's 21 in there. Yeah, unfortunately Raymond's just starting to fall back, but now they've got Bulos and Matt Danson have jumped up on the outside too. It's going to be 4x4.
Yeah, it's got to be 4x4x4 all the way along. And so we've got Raymond leading that outside line. Don't be surprised if it comes down to it to see Bullers and Danson, who just appear to have dropped Dave Douglas. But those two together are going to make it. They will try and make it 3 wide in this race. Guarantee it. They're just forming up, just trying to figure out a way to build that momentum and get the job done. Here they go, 3 wide, right through the middle. Is anyone going to try and cover that off? It looks as though Matt Raymond saw it coming and went to actually cut that off. And that's, of course, opened up the top lane where I've seen those guys go around before. Here it goes. What's going to happen?
Yeah, there's about 6 cars in the top lane. I think Dave Douglas is now caught on the back of Marcus Gerlach, so they've got the drive. They're just stuck on the inside now. 46 still hanging pretty tough on the inside here, Brian Jones. So Jason Martin tries to thread the needle 3 wide, can't do it.
No, you almost get the feeling that this one's going to end in a monumental accident, or it's going to end 3 wide across the line. Danson and Bullis now dropping to the low line to see if they can make anything happen there. I think they're still going to need to go 3 wide to actually get a win in this race. It's just a matter of where they're going to do it. Are they going to try and do it through the middle or around the outside?
Yeah, I think their hope now is that they can clear the 83 and the 21 on the outside, but the hanging top Bullis sort of looks now towards the middle of the track and goes back to the high side. So these guys are just floating all around the place. He's got a pretty good run actually, Bullis, on the outside of the 98 here.
All right, but look at the run that the outside lane has got. Just pushing up there. As soon as Danson and Bullis and Douglas, for that matter, now join their outside row, that's pushed Raymond straight through to the lead. Raymond ducks down, takes that inside line in front of Callow, and looks as though Jason Martin's now going to be looking to get pushed to the lead. I think Raymond is going to try and want to cover off both rows. Martin coming around the outside. I reckon if I was Raymond, I may have stayed on the outside. He won't go 3 wide through the middle. Look at Bullis. Look at Bullis straight there through the middle. He's left Matt Danson as well, and he's going through to the lead. Jumped up in front of Jason Martin. Now it's Matt Raymond versus Bullis for the lead of this one. Only a couple laps remaining.
Oh, yellow flag. It's ended it.
Oh, and it looks as though Raymond has got to snatch the win.
He might do. I'm just having a look at Jacob Knight, the 024. He's gone around in turn 3 and 4. But yeah, Matty Raymond, he crossed the line first.
And he's absolutely done a marvellous job there. And I think Bullis went at exactly the right time. And it looks there just what happened with 024. He was running in there alongside Cheney. And Cheney's just come down into him and turned him. Simple as that.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, congratulations to the 83, Matthew Raymond. Big move there, I'm pretty sure this might be his first ANZCAR.
I think you're absolutely correct. He's obviously got to make it round the last couple of laps here, but I guess kind of expected that, excuse me, that this one finishes under caution. But Raymond's done a fantastic job there, and of course he's one of the newer members of the Riley Curtis stable. He's not running a livery that reflects that at the moment, but has been signed up by that crew. So they're going to be absolutely over the moon with that, as will the 83. And I think the Bullis will be sitting there wondering what might have been. It was oh so close.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the one thing about winning a race for Matthew Raymond. He's in the All-Star race at the end of the year, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he'll be thinking that far ahead, but certainly he's booked his spot in that, and outstanding work from him. So they're just going to roll around. It's a bit of a shame to finish under caution, but never mind. I don't think that Matthew Raymond is going to care one little bit.
No, not at all. But yeah, pretty massive race actually by Braden Bullis, and I know he's finished second and Matt Danson's finished in 7th, but they were pretty much out of the equation for most of the night. Well, not out of the equation, but pretty much out of our commentary. And they've finished right up there.
Yeah, I've seen them do it so many times before. I think the last race that we had here might have been a truck race that they were in together. And yeah, they did exactly the same tactic, sort of hung back, sort of back into the top 20 and then just made this storming run at the end. So not surprised to see them get as close as they got. And it would have taken, they certainly would have been in with a very, very good shot of making that work if this race had run its full distance under green. But it hasn't, and ifs and buts and all that. And Matt Raymond has come away with the victory. And I think Callow might be a little bit disappointed with third there. He certainly raced his heart out tonight.
Yeah, he did. But I think if he gets a good look at his front end, he's going to be thankful for that. But yeah, he's done absolutely very well. Especially, it must have just been cosmetic damage. Like, I've been looking at it all night and thought, it's got absolutely no chance. But it did have a chance. It was up there all night. It hung the lead. It could push. It could lead. Yeah, and he's a bit unfortunate there for Callow because he's led a lot of laps. But I think third place, probably not too bad.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, solid points. I mean, this time of the year, it's nice to win at Daytona, but this time of the year is all about banking those points. Of course, we do have a chase format at the end of the Cup, but not in this series. This is going to be highest point scorer wins the day. So, very good points for those guys. Of course, as we wind down the race, we do apologise for the streaming issues that we had tonight. Completely unforeseen. Everything worked well when we were testing it earlier on, sort of across the weekend and today. Didn't have any problems during the Daytona 500, but unfortunately they have struck tonight. So thanks for sticking with us, those that have. A little bit frustrating, I know, to watch some cars not running all that smoothly and a little bit of a warping, laggy stream. But I hope you got a good race out of it anyway. I hope you enjoyed it. Brand new winner here tonight, and I think that it's going to be a lot of celebrations for the 83 and some commiserations for some others that were right up there.
Yeah, I can imagine Matthew Raymond is going to have a pretty good day tomorrow. You pretty much feel on top of the world, especially when you win one of these things. And he's done it tonight. And it was a pretty good race towards the end. I know there's been a few yellows tonight. Sort of the race has dragged on a little bit. But I think on average up front at least, the race has actually been pretty good and exciting.
Yeah, I mean, there were some moves in the race that sort of maybe showed the inexperience of some drivers for sure, but as we mentioned earlier on, that's what this series is about. It's about learning. It's the training ground for the guys who want to move up to the Cup, as well as still some nice enjoyable racing for the guys who don't necessarily have that ambition. So that's what it's here for. And if you're going to learn anywhere, learn here. And I'm sure that everyone will look back at the mistakes that they may have made tonight and come back bigger and stronger next in 2 weeks' time. Actually, 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be back in the series.
Yeah, at the moment we've been running for about an hour and 37, and you can just tell by the transition of the track that it's gone into the afternoon. No, I actually think that's a really cool addition by iRacing. This is what you like to see, when the sun's sort of going down, the end of the race is happening, and that's pretty much what's happening right now.
Yeah, it certainly is. It's a very welcome feature, and I think when the day-night transition for iRacing was first announced, I did hear a few sort of rumblings about what difference it's going to make. It's none of the official races are long enough for it to make any difference, and it's only good for people who like to do endurance racing and stuff like that. Rubbish. It's been great for absolutely everyone. The dynamic skies, having the clouds roll over in the middle of a race, even if it's not a long race. It's really added something, and I think it's probably one of the most important upgrades that iRacing has made in the last couple of years. It's been very welcome, and I think after everybody's raced with it and seen it, shut up a lot of the critics, that's for sure.
Yeah, it has. And if you're worried about that official stuff, I guess if you're watching from Australia, just come and join the ANZCAR League and actually have a run with these guys. Yeah, see it for yourself.
Absolutely. There's always room for more on the grid, although we wouldn't have fit too many more on the grid tonight. We only had 3 empty spots, so 40 cars taking the green flag today. And top of all of those, head above them all, is the 83, pulling up to the start-finish line now to do the traditional winners burnouts, and I think he's going to enjoy these. And there he goes. Smoke up those bags, Raymond. You deserve it.
Yeah, he definitely does. He gets in the grass too. That's a traditional Daytona thing. He's getting into the grass here, not so much on the asphalt. But I actually have noticed there's not too much smoke actually comes out when you're up on the circuit. I noticed that sort of when I was recapping sort of some of the other races. I'm not sure why that is, but it's getting a little bit of smoke now, which is good.
Yeah, I remember trying to punch a burnout at the end of the Daytona duel, and it was pretty sad. But he's certainly making a much better fist of it here than I did, Matthew Raymond. So we will just run through some results for you, and then we might look at getting some drivers in for some interviews. So, as mentioned, your winner, Matthew Raymond, in the number 83, coming home just ahead of Braden Bullis, who will be probably thinking what might have been if the race had run green. Callow, the former leader, back there in third position. Good finish for him. Then Ryan Jones, Stephen Williams, Jason Martin finishing in sixth position with Matt Danson in seventh. Then we're looking at Skurlock, Douglas and Priest to round out your top 10. And maybe if you'd just like to read out the remaining, the next 10, please, Daniel.
Yeah, sure thing. Raymond Yeager in the 24. He came in the 11th position, followed by Joseph Tavora. I think that was his sort of rookie experience, I guess, into Thunder Series and the Xfinity Series. So it's not bad of a result for him. Matt Hunter in 13th, Phil Otto 14th, Darren McKenzie in 15th, Bradley Cheney finished up in 16th, followed by Gareth Anderson, Ryan Bull, and Jacob Knight and Josh Micklemore finished out in the top 20.
Yeah, and that top 20 was the only 20 that actually finished up there on the lead lap as well. You've got to go back 2 laps to find Ben Doherty in 21st, then 3 laps to find Norman Clark and Nigel Petrie, and then it's pretty miserable tales of woe from there for a lot of those guys who were running very competitively. Running back through, we've got Sadler, Doubtnack, Yelland, who was having such a wonderful run up there for so long, Aaron Wilton, Brett Hender, Nick Shields, Matthew Lawson, Robert Mason, Michael Latter, Steve Hoppert, Leo Smith, Jake Maloney. Unfortunate for him. We've seen him win races so often before, down there in 35th position. Riley Blythe, Adam Beachy, Brian Richmond, Caleb Beecroft, Brogan Pickett Norris, Andre Heidstra and Kai Sloggett did not take the start. So we've got a few drivers there in the green room, and I can think of no one better to start off with than Matty Raymond. And would you like to do the honours and maybe just get his thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, too easy.
Yeah, I don't know then. Yeah, they probably sound different revs, whatever.
Matty Raymond, just Danny G in the commentary box, mate. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm good, bud. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. You have to be thrilled with that. That was a pretty awesome move at the end there.
Yeah, look, we've been struggling all night, so then we just hung around the back quite a bit, and when there was about sort of 30-odd laps to go, I thought we'd make some moves. So, yeah, we hung around sort of top 10 for the rest of the night, and then, yeah, just a bit lucky, really. I was just trying to get my nose in front because I thought there might have been a yellow at the end there, but, yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think, like you said, with about 30 laps to go, I was like, Matty Raymond actually doesn't have a really bad car. I think you had a touch of damage on the right rear, but you look pretty clean. So I did actually pick you there.
Yeah,
so it was good.
We kept the car straight all night. I was pretty happy with that. Yeah, so I hung back with Dave Douglas and Matt Hunter, and we just sort of worked together tonight. And then, yeah, just hung at the back for the first half because we sort of thought it might have been a wreck fest. So.
Yeah. Well, it sort of was a little bit of a wreck fest, but how did you actually find the racing tonight?
Oh, when we were going, like the longer green flag runs and all that sort of thing were awesome, yeah. But just not much of a chance for a green flag pit stop, where we can make more time maybe. But, we'll see what happens in the future. Yeah,
pretty much. Well, yeah, congratulations on that win. I'm sure you're going to have a great day tomorrow. We all know how that sort of feels. And, yeah, congratulations. Is there anybody you'd like to shout out to?
Yeah, 2 people. Scott McClay down at McClay Mechanical in Black Forest, in Adelaide here, for helping me get here, and also Andrew Trelaw from Tackle World Adelaide Metro on Port Road. But, pretty well between those 2. That's the reason I'm here. So special thanks to them.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations. You have a good night, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks, mate. Cheers.
All right, everyone. So that was Matthew Raymond, your winner tonight. Very happy boy, as you understand. His first win in ANZCAR competition. And we might just continue on and grab Jackson Callow. We haven't got Braden Bullis down there at the moment available for a chat. So we might grab our third place finisher, Jackson Callow, and see what he's got to say about how the race unfolded for him. Jackson Callow, Edward from the Performance E-Streaming commentary box. Good finish for you tonight. Talk us through it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I sort of got a bit shitty there. Went from first to third in that last lap, and then the caution came out. But no, it was a good night. Long cautions though.
Yeah, few cautions, but certainly when the greens were out, the racing was very, very good. And one of the things I just wanted to ask you about is on, I think it was the first or second restart when you were starting outside of row one and you actually tucked in behind Jason Martin before the green flag. What was that all
I was chatting to him about the car, see how much damage we both had.
about? Okay, so right before the green.
Oh no, now I know what you mean. Sorry, no. What happened was I think Jake Maloney was running second, and then during that caution, he retired, and for some reason, iRacing left his grid spot open for him, so everyone had to leave second row open. So yeah, it was sort of playing up a bit where we had to go.
Ah, right. That explains it. That was a little bit odd. We were sort of watching that at the time, wondering what was taking place. So, and obviously you had a little bit of contact early on in the race tonight, and it actually made the front of that Mustang look quite ugly. And we thought there are a couple of Illusion cars behind you, and we thought they were just going to be able to team up and blow straight by you with that damage that you had on, but it really didn't seem to affect your pace too much.
Yeah, I know it was a bit weird. Like the front of my car on my screen looked alright, but yeah, I think I had nowhere to go when I don't know what happened with Josh there. I think someone turned him. I had nowhere to go. I got on the brakes. It was only a light contact, but yeah, I could tell that my engine was overheating the whole race. So I was just trying to get some fresh air.
Yeah, well, to come home third with that amount of issue and sort of managing that as you go along is certainly no mean feat at all. Certainly very close to a win, but not to be. But good solid points for the remainder of the championship. And I guess from here, moving on to Atlanta as well. What are you sort of expecting from that round?
Well, I didn't even know it was Atlanta until you told me. So I'm just going 1 week at a time. I'll race if I can, but no, I was having a bit of fun, to be honest.
Beautiful, no problems at all. Is there anyone where you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, all the boys at Lads Racing and TV Installations, Sleepies, and Lonnie Kart Supplies. And you guys are putting on another great night.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. So that is your third place getter, Jackson Callow. So good solid finish from him tonight. So just for our final interview, Danny, we might bring up Ryan Jones. Started second, finished fourth, and might let you do the honours.
Yep. Ryan Jones, how are you tonight?
Not bad. I'm a bit exhausted. It was a hectic race.
Yeah, well, you actually held up pretty well there. I know you got into contact. I think first place, Josh Mickamore sort of ran over the nose, or he got pushed pretty much over the nose of you, and you copped a little bit of damage that you had to repair. But your car actually didn't seem too bad for the rest of the night, and you actually managed to stay up there in the top five.
Yeah, I got damaged in that. I was down on top end speed actually for the rest of the race. I had enough speed to hang with the leaders, but I didn't have enough to get a run on anyone or pass anyone unless I had someone pushing me. So it was a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, we're pretty much saying that too. You got like just enough damage to sort of sit in the pack, but it's going to be interesting to sort of see how you did out the front. But we know Jackson Callow actually had a fair bit of front end damage too, which I spoke about all through the night. But yeah, no, you guys did really well, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So is there anyone you'd like to shout out to at all?
Just the main sponsor, Harley B Autoglass, for sponsoring Race on Oz.
Too easy, man. Well, that was a good run tonight, and obviously top five does you pretty well for the championship points. And we'll catch you next week at Atlanta.
Sure does. All right, thank you guys. Thanks for broadcast.
Thank you.
All right, that was Ryan Jones. And Ryan, while you're still here, give Spin Tyres a bit of a plug.
All righty. Go over on to YouTube and check out Spin Tyres Studio. I'm going to be doing highlights of all the races that Performance East streaming broadcast this season, and we've already got one up there from the Daytona 500. So
awesome stuff. So Ryan Jones, fourth place tonight. Very solid result for him to start off this championship. Another one of our drivers who are getting better all the time. So that's just about all we've got time for tonight, I think. It was one of those races where it's there were a few cautions as expected, with a few guys out there still gaining experience and a couple of little bits and pieces that the drivers will probably learn from. But overall, I think a good and exciting race. Had a bit of everything actually.
Yeah, it definitely did. I think some of these the rookie guys that sort of came in that we haven't seen before did quite well. I know, was it Knight? He actually did really well. Jacob Knight, I know he finished well back down there and looks like in the back end of the teens. Might have been 19th position, but he had a great run all night, and I think he probably gained a little bit, hopefully a bit of respect from the guys at the front. And it's just unfortunate that he couldn't get up there for a top 10, because even though he had a little bit of a damaged car, he stayed in pretty much second place for the first third of the race behind Jason Martin, and he was in the top 5, top 10 all night.
Yeah, he was outstanding. I thought tonight didn't really get the finish that he probably deserved, but there were a few, I guess, hard luck tales all throughout the field. Wilton springs to mind. He was having a great run as well. Yelland springs to mind as well. Got the rough end of the stick. So a few tales of woe, but certainly a few decent efforts there as well, and some good finishes. So we move on now. I believe I said it was Atlanta earlier on. I'm fairly sure it's Atlanta that we're going to actually next.
Yep.
And I guess we'll see that in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, next week we're back with the Cup Series, also from Atlanta. We're going to be running there in the Cup races, so we should have Brett Douglas and Carl Withy with you for that one. But until then, that's pretty much all we've got for you. So once again, apologise for the streaming issues, but hope you enjoyed the race regardless, because we certainly did. And from myself and Danny G, good night. We'll see you next time.